Now listen to me, because I want you to get this right. When a man goes days without talking, the first thing most women do is panic. They start replaying every single interaction in their mind, wondering if they said something wrong, if they made a mistake, or if he's losing interest. And let me tell you, that type of thinking is exactly what will keep you stuck and stressed. You've got to understand something fundamental about men. Their silence is rarely about you personally. I know it feels personal because you care, because your emotions are involved, but men process things differently than women. They don't dwell on conversations the same way we do, and a period of silence is often more about their own thoughts, their own distractions, or their own personal growth than it is about anything you did or didn't do. Men are wired in a way where sometimes they need space to think, to process their feelings, or to figure out how they feel about a situation. Silence is part of their natural rhythm. Unlike women who tend to communicate emotions as they feel them, men often retreat into themselves. It's not avoidance, it's contemplation. They don't always have the words to express themselves immediately, and they don't always understand their emotions as quickly as we do. So when he goes quiet, your first reaction shouldn't be to assume it's a rejection. That's the trap women fall into. They think, he hasn't texted me in 2 days. He must be losing interest. He must not care.
No.
9 times out of 10, that's not what's happening. You have to start reframing your mindset. Silence doesn't mean you're not enough. Silence doesn't mean he's gone forever. Silence doesn't mean you fail. It's a natural pause, a space in which a man is working through his own thoughts. And here's the thing, understanding this changes everything. When you stop taking his quiet personally, you stop reacting in ways that push him further away. Because let's be honest, overreacting never works. Flooding him with messages, asking him where he's been, or overanalyzing every interaction will only make him pull back more. Men are sensitive to pressure, even if they don't always admit it. When a woman puts him on the spot or tries to force answers, it triggers their instinct to retreat. So the first step to dealing with silence is understanding it isn't about you. And let's talk about why this is so important. Women have a tendency to fill silence with their own stories, assumptions, fears, and doubts. They think he's quiet, so that must mean I did something wrong, so I better fix it. But when you realize that silence is not an attack, not a reflection of your worth, suddenly your whole perspective shifts. Instead of panicking, you can start observing his behavior objectively. Instead of chasing, you can start thinking strategically. Instead of fearing, you can start empowering yourself. And empowerment is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who understand themselves, who know their value, and who don't crumble under silence. That understanding creates a pull that words alone cannot achieve. Now, I want you to hear me on this. Understanding his silence also means understanding the timing of communication. Men will come around when they're ready, not when you demand it. That's a tough pill to swallow for women who are used to constant communication, but it's the reality. When you accept that, you free yourself from the stress of waiting on him, and you free him from the pressure of feeling like he's being judged or cornered. Silence then becomes a natural part of the relationship's rhythm rather than a threat. And let me tell you, men respect women who respect that rhythm because it shows maturity, patience, and confidence traits that are far more attractive than panic or overanalyzing. The truth is, his silence could mean any number of things, and 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with you. He could be busy with work, dealing with family matters, or just processing his own feelings. Men have lives outside of the relationship, and when you recognize that, you stop overinterpreting small gaps in communication. Instead, you start to see silence as a normal part of interaction, as a pause, as space for him to miss you, to think about what you mean to him, and to recognize the value you bring to his life. It's not punishment. It's not rejection. It's often the exact opposite. It's a chance for him to reconnect from a place of genuine desire, not obligation. Let's also touch on emotional maturity here. When a woman understands that his silence isn't about her, she develops emotional control. She doesn't react impulsively. She doesn't create unnecessary drama. She remains calm, grounded, and confident. And men notice that. Men respect women who can handle themselves, who don't need constant validation, and who understand that love and attention aren't always about immediate responses. When you respond to silence with grace instead of panic, you communicate your self-worth without saying a word. That unspoken confidence is far more compelling than 1,000 texts or calls. Here's another key point: when you stop taking silence personally, you can start observing his behavior with clarity. You begin to notice patterns, intentions, and the ways he expresses care beyond just words. Sometimes men show love and interest through actions, not constant communication. Maybe he remembers something important. Maybe he made a plan for you. Maybe he reached out in subtle ways that don't involve words. Understanding that his silence is not a reflection of your value allows you to see the bigger picture. It allows you to focus on the moments that really matter, the gestures that show genuine interest, and the ways he contributes to your life emotionally without being constantly vocal about it. And finally, when you internalize this principle, you reclaim your power. You no longer feel at the mercy of his texting habits or his response time. You no longer spiral into anxiety or self-doubt. Instead, you approach the situation with understanding, patience, and strategic awareness. You recognize that his silence is temporary, that it is not a personal attack, and that it can even be beneficial for the relationship because it gives both of you space to breathe, reflect, and grow. That awareness shifts your energy, and energy is everything. Men are highly sensitive to energy. The energy of a woman who understands herself, who isn't panicking, and who is confident in her worth is irresistible. So when he goes days without talking, remember this: his silence is not a judgment on you. It's not a sign that he's leaving. It's a part of the way he processes, thinks, and interacts with the world. If you understand that, you no longer react out of fear or insecurity. You remain calm, confident, and grounded. You allow space, you maintain your value, and you communicate through presence rather than desperation. And the irony is, when you do that, when you step back and respect his process while maintaining your own life and happiness, he will reach out. He will want to connect. He will come back with interest, curiosity, and appreciation because you demonstrated that you are a woman of value who isn't shaken by silence, but instead thrives in your own power. That is the secret, the real truth, and the Steve Harvey style way to handle a man's silence without losing yourself or your peace. Now I need you to hear me carefully, because this is where a lot of women make mistakes and it's costing them more than they realize. When a man goes days without talking, the instinct is to panic, to fill the silence with messages, calls, or endless questions. And let me tell you, that behavior is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. You see, men don't respond to panic, they respond to patience, but not just any patience, strategic patience. There's a difference between doing nothing out of fear and doing nothing with intention. Strategic patience is about understanding timing, reading signals, and giving him space while still maintaining your own power and presence. It's about creating a situation where he naturally feels compelled to reach out, not because you forced it, but because he wants to. Here's the thing about men: they're wired in a way where pressure makes them retreat. If you bombard him with messages or calls, if you overanalyze or guilt him into responding, you're actually pushing him further away. Men need space to process, to feel, and to realize what they're missing. They need the opportunity to come to you willingly from a place of desire, not obligation. Strategic patience isn't passive, it's active in a subtle, powerful way. It's about maintaining your life, your energy, your joy, while leaving just enough curiosity for him to wonder about you. That curiosity is what triggers a response. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a game, and it's not manipulation. It's about understanding human behavior and responding with wisdom instead of emotion. When a man goes silent, he's creating a gap, and gaps can work for you or against you. If you overfill that gap, you remove the tension and the anticipation, and he loses interest. But if you honor the gap with grace, with self-respect, and with subtle signals, you create an environment where he starts thinking about you, missing you, and wanting to reconnect. That's the power of strategic patience. While he's away, it's critical that you stay fully engaged in your own life. Don't sit by your phone waiting. Don't overanalyze each hour he doesn't reach out. Men are attracted to women who have purpose, passion, and a life outside of them. When you keep your life vibrant, busy, and joyful, he notices. He starts to see that you're not just available for him at all times, you're valuable, independent, and interesting. That realization makes him curious. And curiosity, ladies, is one of the strongest triggers for action. He starts to wonder why he's not a part of that energy in that life, and that's what prompts him to reach out. Strategic patience also involves controlling your communication. It's not about being cold or distant, it's about timing, tone, and subtlety. A simple, confident message delivered after a period of space can work wonders. You don't need to write a novel or explain your feelings. A short, playful, or intriguing message sparks curiosity, something that shows you're engaged in your life, but that you're not desperate for his attention. That's the sweet spot. Men respond to confidence and composure, not urgency and neediness. When you master this, you trigger their natural desire to connect without ever begging or chasing. Another crucial part of strategic patience is observation. Use the silence to learn about him, about patterns, and about his emotional tendencies. Does he usually need space when stressed? Does he respond better when given time to think? Does he appreciate subtle gestures over words? By observing, you start to understand him on a deeper level. And when you know how he operates, you can respond in ways that align with his behavior rather than fighting against it. This is where many women go wrong. They react emotionally instead of strategically, and the result is frustration and confusion. Strategic patience requires wisdom, and wisdom comes from observation, experience, and self-control. While you practice this patience, it's also about maintaining your dignity. Silence can feel like rejection, but if you handle it with poise, it elevates your value. Men respect women who don't crumble, who don't beg, and who don't lose themselves in the absence of attention. When you show that you are secure in yourself and your worth, it creates a magnetic pull. They see a woman who is independent, confident, and capable of thriving without being dependent on their validation. That pull is far stronger than any direct message or overeager call. Let's be real for a moment. Strategic patience also teaches him about consequences. When you don't respond immediately or chase, he begins to realize that attention isn't automatic. He starts to appreciate your presence more because it isn't given freely at every moment. This doesn't mean playing games, but it does mean showing that your energy is valuable and your time is precious. Men respond to women who have boundaries and self-respect. They respond to women who demonstrate that they are full of life and not waiting around for validation. That realization can spark the exact reaction you want him, reaching out willingly with genuine interest. And here's another thing. Strategic patience allows space for reflection on both sides. While he's away, he can consider his feelings, assess the situation, and understand what he wants. Meanwhile, you're also reflecting, strengthening your self-awareness, and reaffirming your standards. This mutual space is healthy for the relationship because it allows each person to come back grounded, intentional, and clear about what they value. Without that patience, without that space, the connection can become chaotic, reactive, and emotionally draining. Finally, strategic patience is about trust in yourself and trust in the natural flow of relationships. Trust that giving space doesn't mean losing him. Trust that you are valuable and worthy no matter how long the silence lasts. Trust that when you maintain your energy, your life, and your joy, the universe and him will respond in time. Patience is not weakness. Patience is strength. Patience is confidence in action. When you combine patience with strategic awareness, observation, and self-empowerment, you create a scenario where he cannot resist reaching out because the timing, the space, and the energy all align perfectly to draw him back to you. So remember, strategic patience is about more than waiting. It's about knowing when to engage, when to step back, and how to create curiosity and desire without chasing. It's about confidence, self-respect, observation, and energy. It's about positioning yourself in a way that naturally triggers his attention without compromising your value or your dignity. Master this, and you'll notice a shift. He will reach out, not because he's being forced, but because he genuinely wants to reconnect, drawn by the magnetic pull of your strategic, patient, and confident energy. Now I want you to really pay attention because this is where the power lies. When a man goes days without talking, many women make the mistake of losing themselves. They start questioning their worth, their appeal, their importance, and they begin to bend over backward just to get a response. And let me tell you something, that is the quickest way to lose your value in his eyes. Steve Harvey always says, your worth is not determined by someone else's attention. Your worth is determined by the energy you bring into your own life, the respect you have for yourself, and the way you carry yourself when no one is looking. This is where focusing on self-improvement comes in. When he goes silent, instead of spiraling into anxiety, you shift your energy toward yourself, toward growth, toward becoming the best version of you. Self-improvement is not just about appearance, although yes, feeling confident in your body and style matters. It's about mental strength, emotional resilience, and the life you are building independently of him. It's about learning new skills, pursuing passions, investing in your career, and nurturing your mind and spirit. The more you invest in yourself, the more magnetic you become. Men are attracted to women who have their own lives, who radiate purpose and ambition, and who are not waiting around for validation. When you focus on your self-improvement, you send a silent but powerful message. I am full, I am valuable, and I will not compromise my life for someone else's attention. That energy is irresistible. Think about it when a man sees a woman thriving while he's been absent. It triggers a sense of admiration and often a little bit of fear. Not fear in a bad way, but the realization that he might lose something truly valuable if he doesn't act. That's why maintaining your value is critical. Your value is your confidence, your independence, your emotional maturity, and the way you carry yourself in every interaction. It's not something you can fake. It's something you live every day. And here's the key: when you live your life fully, he can't help but notice. He starts to recognize that you're not someone to take for granted, and that realization makes him want to reconnect. Now, maintaining your value also means setting boundaries. You cannot allow silence to make you chase him, compromise your standards, or diminish your dignity. Boundaries are not walls, they are signs of self-respect. When a man goes quiet, if you respect your own value, you don't bend over backward to fill the silence. You don't drop everything for him. You don't beg for attention. Instead, you honor your boundaries, knowing that your life, your time, and your energy are precious. A man who respects you will respond because he sees that your attention is not free and that you are a woman of substance. Self-improvement also strengthens your emotional resilience. When he's quiet for days, you will feel the natural pull of doubt, insecurity, or even fear of abandonment. That's normal. But here's where self-improvement becomes your superpower. It gives you confidence to navigate those emotions without losing yourself. When you're secure in who you are, when you have built a life that excites you, you don't crumble in silence. You handle it with grace, dignity, and composure. Men are drawn to that kind of strength. They notice women who can weather uncertainty without panic because it shows maturity, self-reliance, and inner power. Another aspect of self-improvement is building a life that is interesting and engaging. Pursue hobbies that excite you, travel, connect with friends, and expand your mind. Not only does this make you happier and more fulfilled, but it naturally creates a pull effect. Men notice energy, joy, and ambition. They are drawn to women whose lives are full and rich, not stagnant or dependent. When you focus on self-improvement, you are building an environment that he wants to be a part of. You become someone who adds value, not someone who waits for it. Self-improvement also teaches patience and perspective. You begin to see that his silence is not a reflection of your worth, but a part of the way relationships work. You understand that attention and interest cannot be forced. You learn to control your reactions, manage your expectations, and approach him from a place of calm confidence rather than desperation. This perspective is crucial because desperation is the fastest way to lose value, while calm, self-assured energy is the fastest way to gain it. Let's also talk about emotional intelligence. When you focus on self-improvement, you develop a better understanding of yourself and your emotions. You recognize patterns in his behavior, you understand your triggers, and you learn to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Emotional intelligence is incredibly attractive. Men notice women who can stay composed analyze situations wisely, and communicate effectively. It's a rare trait, and it positions you as someone valuable, someone he respects, and someone he wants to reconnect with. And here's something most women miss: self-improvement is contagious. When you are busy growing, thriving, and living your life fully, it challenges him to rise to your level. Men don't like to feel left behind. When they see a woman who values herself and invests in her own life, it can spark a desire to match that energy, to show up and to reconnect in a meaningful way. This isn't manipulation, it's a natural dynamic. By maintaining your value, you create a scenario where he must acknowledge your worth to engage fully with you. Finally, focusing on self-improvement reminds you that your life doesn't revolve around him. You are whole, complete, and capable of joy on your own. When a man goes days without talking, you don't panic, you don't chase, and you don't compromise yourself. Instead, you continue to grow, thrive, and maintain your standards. That is the most powerful message you can send: that you are a woman of value, that you respect yourself, and that he would be lucky to have your attention. When you operate from this mindset, men notice, they appreciate, and ultimately, they reach out because they see the rare combination of independence, confidence, and emotional maturity in you. That, ladies, is real power. All right, now listen up, because this is where the magic happens. So many women get caught up in overthinking when a man goes days without talking. They send long messages, ask 100 questions, or try to force a response. And what do you know? That rarely works. Men don't respond to desperation. They respond to curiosity. They respond to intrigue. That's why sending signals that invite curiosity and engagement is so powerful. It's not about manipulation. It's about creating a magnetic energy that makes him want to reach out because he's genuinely interested in what you're doing, who you are, and what you're about. It's about being captivating without trying too hard. Here's the thing. When a man is silent, the first reaction for many women is to fill that space with noise, texts, calls, or social media messages. That noise kills curiosity. It removes the mystery. Men are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand, what makes them think, and what challenges their assumptions. If you give away all your attention too quickly, you remove the tension, the pull, the intrigue. But if you use subtle signals, small glimpses into your life, or playful, confident interactions, you create a natural pull. Men want what they feel they are missing. When you master this, silence becomes your advantage. Think about it like this. You want him thinking about you when you're not around. That means showing glimpses of your life, but not laying it all out. Share something funny that happened. Post a photo that highlights your energy and joy, or drop a short, playful message that makes him smile or wonder what you're up to. The key is subtlety.